Hey Marvin, how are you? Oh, you have to reboot? Okay. Hi Otisa, how are you?
Hi, Tawana, can you hear me?
You sound a little tunnely, but I hear you.
See if we can fix that.
That you just did, whatever you just did.
Any better?
Much better.
Okay. Turn the microphone up and it'll be even better than that.
Perfect.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me try my screen share. Let's make sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to pause it. Marvin will start off sharing, but I just wanted to ensure that I have the right
Yeah,
access and everything, so I think we're good to go.
perfect. Wonderful. And he was just on, he popped back out. He was having trouble with his sound.
Okay.
So he'll be coming back in a second. Hey Talisha,
Hello, how are you?
doing well. How are you today?
All right.
What's
Battling
today?
Mortal
Hey?
Kombat with my allergies, and they are winning.
Ah, that's not good.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
It
that's
is,
not
it
good.
is ragweed season.
It's like it's always season for some allergen. You can't escape it.
True.
Now it's like year round, which just sucks.
Yeah.
Lifelong allergy sufferer. So, but there are times where, like this right now, I don't know what's going on, but it's this moment because I was fine a few days ago, and now I am not.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know how
It's
miserable
all
that can
right.
be. You just
I will
drags your
win.
whole day down.
I will not be defeated.
That's right. That's the attitude.
Yeah, somebody's texting me here.
Here he is. The man of the hour is back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Goodness, of course, Murphy's Law. So what's the format? You guys want to introduce us and then we're just going to jump in? Okay,
Just give them a couple of minutes. Community members are coming in.
okay.
A few minutes. We will introduce. We tend to be very informal around here,
Good.
right?
Good.
We'll choose a good. We'll turn
My blood pressure can go down a little bit.
your
Thank
blood pressure can go all the way down. And then we'll turn it over to you. And then we'll just kind of dialogue throughout, right?
Okay, yeah. We want to keep it like a conversation. We put some slides together. We didn't want to take the whole hour with us going through slides, but more have a more Q&A. If
No, that's a good plan. I do want to make sure, we at the end throughout somewhere that we make sure we give your contact information. We had a lot of people that actually most of the community watches on replay.
Okay.
So we want to make sure they have all the information they need when they see this later.
Okay. Okay. We didn't add a contact. I can do that real quick.
And we can put it in the chat. We can say it aloud, right? So
Okay.
And I'll include it in the replay as well when I disperse that.
Okay.
perfect.
Let me know which one you want.
I'm gonna give you. Can we just put it in the chat now?
Yeah, certainly.
Yep, perfect. While everyone's coming in, I'll just kind of set this up. So for the community members, you may recognize Marvin. Marvin was or is the founder of Dashable. If you guys remember, Dashable was our very first Bet on Black pitch.
Really, was it?
So
That's
you
the very
really,
first one.
and so I have a warm spot in my heart, right? Because Marvin and his team believed in us when we were just talking about how good we were, right? Weren't actually that good yet. And he believed in us. And so thank you again for that, because here we are 4.5 years later, right? Getting ready to host tomorrow. I think we're at like 149 Black founders that we've hosted in the last 4 years. So you were the first. Thank you so very much. And we're so excited to hear about what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So the family's going to want to hear a little bit about Dashable, right?
Yeah.
But to talk about what you and your team are doing now, more amazing things. And we want to be able to support you as you share with the community what you have going on. We think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And I think there's so many members in our community that are going to be able to benefit from this. So we're so glad you guys accepted our invitation to come join us on our Monday wealth building session so that we can talk more about what you guys are doing. And specifically tonight, we're going to be talking about chatbots. So I know some people are thinking, what the hell is a chatbot? Marvin's going to tell you. He's going to tell you why you need to know about it. He's going to talk about generative AI and why that's important to you. And so I'm so excited to have you guys. Felicia, did you want to add anything, my dear?
No, waiting to get into the presentation.
Well, I say let's jump in. Marvin, you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, we'll do that. So my name is Marvin Johnson, co-founder and CEO of Dashable, as Tawana said. And I'm here with my colleague, Marlis. He'll introduce himself as well. So today, so a little bit about myself. I've been doing technology for over 20 years. We did pitch to 10K, several years ago. It's amazing to hear how long ago it was. Time really flies. But since then, we've pivoted. It's the same company, Dashable, but we're operating under a different name, Wali now. And what we're doing, we've kind of pivoted to an AI forward platform. And over time, we'll be integrating the features and functions that we develop for Dashable into the Wali platform. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go over, we'll touch on Ask Wali and what we're doing as a company. But this wasn't meant to be like a pitch presentation, more of an educational presentation about AI and generative AI. And when Marlis and I were putting together this presentation, it kind of came to mind, it kind of was really forward that there's a lot of stuff to discuss in AI. It's a really big field. When you say AI, is a lot of stuff. So what we try to do is put a presentation together that's not overly technical, that covers somewhat of a wide range of topics at a level that we think most people can understand and get some positive takeaways from it. And we'll do some practical like workshop type of things as well. And I won't go over the agenda, but a little bit about my background you can see on the slide there. And I'll let Marlis introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Marvin. Again, my name is Marlis Williams. As you can see on the slide, I'm the founder of Limbic Systems. I'm in Washington, D.C., and we actually manage a lot of software development initiatives for state and local government agencies in our region. We have a specific focus within Limbic Systems on permitting systems, licensing systems, but with the recent advent of user-friendly and accessible AI tools, just about everything we do now has an AI component. And when Marvin and I sat down, when you talk about how time flies, Marvin, it's probably been a little over a year. You and I sat down in the Starbucks and started thinking about how important AI would be to our respective businesses, but also how we can empower other businesses through the use of AI. Marvin and I have been around long enough now that we've seen all of the major waves of technology over the last 20 years. We were there at the beginning of the internet as we know it now, at the beginning of the World Wide Web, at the beginning of high-speed internet access, at the beginning of the mobile application and mobile phone wave. And he and I firmly believe that this movement that we're seeing now, that we're in the middle of right now with AI, will be as big as, if not bigger, than the previous movements. And we're determined, Marvin and I are determined, that our people will not be left behind in this wave of technology. So he and I are very serious. We're passionate about spreading the gospel of AI. We're passionate about building tools that enable small businesses, solo founders, small partnerships. And you'll see that come to life when we show Wali. But we also want you to understand there are other tools at your disposal. And he and I are going to actually do some live demonstrations because we want you to find applications for AI within your specific area of expertise, your profession, your nonprofits, your family. And just a little bit about my educational background. I went to FAMU undergrad. I'm from Atlanta originally, and from a small town in Georgia called Washington, Georgia. I have a degree in computer information systems from FAM, and then I did my master's study. I graduated from Carnegie Mellon. And I'll turn it back to Marvin. He and I are going to tag team this a little bit. He'll go over some great foundational tools that you'll need to understand, and then I'll come in a little bit and talk about ChatGPT and some of the tools that you might have heard of. So Marvin, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marlis. So we're going to go over like AI in general, but we're going to focus on generative AI. We'll explain what that is and talk about prompting. I know many of you have probably heard of prompting or have done some prompting yourself. We'll go through some prompting and some specific use cases that you might find useful. And really just to show you the power and the breadth of things you can do with AI. We really think AI, it's definitely going to change the way everything operates around the world. And it's also going to change the way people interact with the internet. As Marla said, we were around when the internet just first started, and then we saw high-speed internet access, then mobile access, things of that nature, and all those different paradigm shifts really changed the way we operate on a day-to-day basis. And AI is going to do the same, the way we interact with each other, the way we interact with technology, and the way we interact with the web as well. And we're focused on the way people interact with the web. We think over time, people aren't going to want to read and browse big websites when you can just chat with the website and get your questions answered without having to spend the time to read and summarize information yourself. We'll touch on a couple current events, specifically the new ChatGPT release, their new model called O1. That's pretty impressive. It's only been out for a few days, but it's very impressive. So we'll touch on that. And we'll tell you a little bit about Wali, and then we'll do some Q&A. And throughout the presentation, we try to keep the actual content pretty short, so we have enough time to answer any questions that may come about. And we like in the future, hopefully, to have some other conversations with the group about the specific topics in AI and maybe tools or things of that nature in the future. But I'm not sure what's the best way to ask questions. Tawana, can people just drop them in the chat?
Yeah, in the chat, in the Q&A, and if it's if they have a lot of dialogue back and forth, we can even open their mic.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So don't be shy about raising any questions you may have. Let's jump into it. So what is AI? When ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, seems like a long time. So a lot has changed since ChatGPT came out. And it really shifted the way people think about technology. And one of the misconceptions that we see is that people think that AI started with ChatGPT. And you heard a lot of news out there, and are we ready for AI? The AI has been around for years. AI is not a new thing. What we're seeing now is some more customer-facing AI tools, but AI has been used for the past decade and a half and integrated into systems. Like Siri has been around for years. That's an AI assistant. Netflix that would recommend what movie you might want to watch. That's driven by AI. You may have been out swiping your debit or credit card and it gets blocked because your bank thinks it's a fraudulent transaction. A lot of those systems rely on AI and neural networks and machine learning as well. So AI is not anything new. It's all around you in places you may not even notice that AI is operating behind the scenes. What we're going to focus on today is generative AI. And generative AI is AI that creates new content that didn't exist before. And there's several different categories of generative AI and more than this, but the things that are most familiar to people are like chatbots. And Marlos will talk about different chatbots that are out there that you can go access to perform different tasks. And there's also text to image generations. We've all seen like it's really proliferated over last year, all the fake pictures and deep fakes, things of that nature that people can do with text to image. And that's only going to get better and better over time. There's also coming now is text to video, where you're able to enter a text prompt or load an image and get a video generated by AI based on just a text prompt. And also text to speech and voice cloning. You can easily now, with tools like 11 Labs, clone your voice or clone someone else's voice or create a new voice and then use that voice in any type of media that you want to develop. I use that extensively to create YouTube videos. I actually use AI to generate a script for YouTube video. I take that script, put it into 11 Labs and get a voiceover in 11 Labs. And I take that script also to another tool that makes a video by splicing together different stock videos and stock footage. So you can do an entire video presentation with AI with different tools that are created. Right now, you kind of have to do one piece here, one piece there, one piece there, but over time, there'll be end-to-end tools that will allow us to do these things really seamlessly. This was Marlos' slide.
Great. I'm glad Marvin led this off. I always say Marvin is the most ingenious person I've ever met when it comes to AI usage. Marvin, you probably built 20 different AI products in the last year and a half. And it just speaks to the power of how when we talk about generative AI, if you use ChatGPT, Marvin and I talk about this all the time, you're actually programming. It's important to realize that the languages of the future, the computer languages of the future, will be in many cases plain English. So if you can actually compose a good prompt meaning instructions that you give to an AI model to get an answer back, the more skilled you are with respect to how you instruct the model on what you're looking for, the more powerful the applications are that you can build. And when you look at these LLMs, large language models, and that's a specific segment of AI, as Marvin said earlier, AI is a massive field. But when we talk about large language models, that's when you hear about ChatGPT, you hear about Claude, you hear about Gemini from Google. These are all large language models. And the way they work is that they consume millions and billions of pieces of data across all different types of domains, any subject area that you can imagine. These large language models have consumed some piece of information, and in most cases, many pieces of information about that various text. Whether you're talking about science or entertainment or arts, you will find that information within a large language model. What we see now with chatbots is that we're able to build these automated interfaces so that you can interact with these large language models without really even understanding or knowing that that's what's happening behind the scenes. So when you go to your bank website or you go to an airline website, whereas in the past, we had pre-scripted all of those responses for the most part. We knew the basic questions that were going to be asked, or we actually limited the number of questions that you can ask. And we had already scripted all of the answers that this particular bot could respond with. But with generative AI, we can actually use the intelligence of the language model to generate responses on the fly and to generate responses that we did not predetermine. They're smart, they're thinking. They mimic the human brain, or they're saying I sound modulated. Marvin, are you unable to hear me as well?
It's a little bit staticky. I can hear it, but it's like static in the background a little bit.
Not sure what happened. Is it still static? Let me switch my microphone.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to this. Is it still staticky, Marvin?
That's better. No static. No.
I'll switch back in a second when I go back to my demo, but I'm not sure what happened. Sorry about that. Basically, the concept is that these models work similar to the human brain. They're able to take the knowledge that they've gained through millions of pieces of data that they've been trained on So when you hear us talk about training a model, that's the process of feeding this information into a model. It's able to recognize patterns. And I think the most powerful part of large language models is that they understand the semantics of the message or the text. They understand what you're talking about. If you think about how Google has worked, if you think about how Microsoft's search engines have worked, you needed to know the text of the website that you were looking for. But now with these large language models, if you put pigeon or bird or hawk, it's able to understand that you're talking about something that's similar versus if you talk about a hawkish sentiment on Wall Street or what you call the wind, the hawk. It's able to understand the differences in the context. And you'll see us use that concept when we talk about Ask Wali, because without understanding or having to predict exactly the word on the restaurant's menu, if our models believe that what you're talking about is a hamburger or is a slice of pizza, regardless of your cute branding or your cute way of referring to it, we're able to make those distinctions based on how large language models work. Marvin, can you go to the next slide, please? And when we talk about large language models, again, the way that you program or the way that you give instructions is the prompt. And the prompt is what you're typing into ChatGPT yourself. That is the core of how LLMs work. And a lot of times people might be frustrated with AI, might be frustrated with the responses they're giving. Part of that is that we're still in the relatively new era of large language models. ChatGPT is not even 2 years old yet, I don't think. But also, it's understanding how to talk to the model. It's understanding how to prompt the model to get the optimal responses. And we're going to talk about these. We'll show some examples. So I'm not going to go through every step here, but you just need to know, and I'm sure a lot of you who've used ChatGPT, have used Bing, have used Gemini. It's the whole adage in IT, garbage in, garbage out. We're going to talk about how you create great prompts, great models that will give you responses that are actually usable. So Marvin, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Again, I want to make sure that we know that there are many different types of large language models that we can use. The most popular one is ChatGPT. It's the one that people talk about most often. It was the first one out there on a mass market. And it's actually the one that I use the most today, along with Google Gemini. But there are other models, and you will see additional models coming on the market. It's just like when we first started on the internet. I don't know who all is anywhere near my age, but we started out with just AOL, America Online, and then just CompuServe. And then 5 years later, you had hundreds of sites and then thousands. And now you don't even hear about AOL or CompuServe anymore. It wouldn't surprise me if in 10, 15, 20 years, we're not talking about Gemini, Claude, and GPT as the players. We are going to see a completely new marketplace emerge. You hear now about NVIDIA and how they've almost completely taken the shine from Intel. And none of us would have imagined even 5 years ago a major player like Intel. But like Marvin said, AI is going to change everything. So I want you to be familiar with these models to understand that it's not just about ChatGPT. It's the one that I use the most. It's the most popular right now. But you should always be on the lookout for new models, because they might actually be more expert in your domain or your problem set than ChatGPT. Marvin, we can go to the next one, please.
Oh, so someone asked about the best tool to convert a written script into video. I use InVideo.ai to create videos. But what that does, you put together a script, upload a script, and it takes stock footage and stock videos and spices them together into a video. There's also the other big one is Runway ML. And I'll put those in the chat in a second. Runway ML. And there's some new ones coming out that haven't been released yet, like Sora from OpenAI, who makes ChatGPT. But I'll type that up in a second.
Yeah, I'm going to show the example that we came up with, Marvin.
Okay.
Let me know if you're able to see my screen. And can you hear me okay, Marvin?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay. So here's an example of, and again, we're just showing some different model types. Here's Gemini. I did this prompt just so also I would prompt myself to talk about this idea of a context window. It's really important when you're using large language models, when you're using ChatGPT, to keep in mind that if you start having a very long conversation with the model, at some point it's going to lose the context, it's going to lose the memory of what you talked about at the beginning of the conversation. Now, these context windows are getting larger, and I actually think Gemini underrepresented their competition a little bit. I think their token limit is above 8,000 for GPT-4. It's probably a lot higher than that. But you will notice that there are vast differences in the token size, meaning the number of characters that it can remember or the number of words that your model can remember within a conversation before, and you'll hear this term a lot when we talk about AI, hallucinations. When it just starts making up stuff or things that feel completely out of context that came out of left field. We have to be cognizant of these context windows. And you also have to keep in mind a little bit of this is marketing and sales. And are there really 200,000 usable tokens in a Claude conversation? Well, I haven't experimented, but I would be a little bit skeptical about that claim to see how. Marvin, did you want to chime in on
Yeah,
that?
I want to say something. Yeah, because we've been doing this for a while, so we use some terms that people might not understand. Like
Okay.
a token, like you'll hear them talk about tokens. A token is a number of characters, and a token in ChatGPT's world is like 3/4 of a word is a token. So when we're talking about context windows, like when you have your ChatGPT window up and you're chatting, it's how long that can be and still be relevant to the LLM when it's answering. Just like a human brain, there's only so much stuff you can keep in your memory when someone's talking to you before you start to forget stuff. And these LLMs work the same way. They start to forget things. And another thing that's pretty typical is if LLMs tend to remember what's at the beginning and at the end, and sometimes forget what's in the middle, just like a human brain. You might remember the beginning of a conversation, the big end of the conversation, but all the stuff in the middle, it starts to get a little grainy over time. So same thing with LLMs.
Thanks, Marvin. Yeah, I definitely should have clarified that. Thanks for jumping in. If I go too tech or too deep on anything, Marvin, just jump in. And then again, remember these sites, Gemini.google.com. Again, another model that you can experiment with. If you're used to using ChatGPT, try something different. See what types of responses you get from Claude. That's Claude.ai. Another model where you can go in, you can upload documents. Like I just used this one example, and I'm going to use this in a separate screen here in a second. Let me see if I can move this thing out of the way. I can't. It's kind of stuck here. But
We're seeing the slide scenario one. We're not
Are you
seeing
still
what
seeing the slide? Oh, maybe if I stop sharing. I see Marlis's. You should reshare, Marlis.
okay.
I could actually see yours.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Can you see it now?
You guys see Marlis's screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, I don't.
So just another example of Claude. Again, this is a different model from ChatGPT. And what I did here was I uploaded an investment prospectus. Let me make this larger. I uploaded an investment prospectus, and I'm going to use the same example when we talk about ChatGPT. But here you see I uploaded a document. I used the Tulsa Real Estate Fund as my example here. And once I uploaded this document, I asked the Claude model to just give me a basic investment analysis. One thing I've noticed about Claude, again, I'm not an expert, so I don't want to disparage the model. I'm not as experienced with it, but I did not see it gaining a lot of information from the internet. It pretty much responded based on the contents of my document. One thing that you'll notice about ChatGPT and also Bing is that they rely heavily on their ability to also augment whatever response they're giving by pulling information from the internet. Most of these models, the data within them could be 8 months, a year, 18 months old. You'll ask it a question that you're expecting an answer for, but if that question that you're asking is on something that happened very recently, you might not get an answer because the model wasn't trained on that particular information set yet. But ChatGPT and Bing and Google, they're relying heavily on their ability to scan the internet in real time and bring back relevant results that might not have been trained in the model. And I'll show you this example.
Is everyone seeing your screen? I don't see your screen.
At the top of your window, you should see his screen. If you click on that, you'll see it. But before it wasn't refreshing.
All right.
Yes, and I will say the Claude is definitely not a real time. It is just the LLM is trained, and that is all. So it is not updated particularly, and it doesn't go outside. So it is a closed system in that sense that it is not looking for real-time data. And even if you instruct it to, it doesn't do that on its own. You have to actually call something else to pull that information in.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't used it as much. It seems like a powerful model, but that could be a big deficiency depending on what you're looking for.
Correct. That's why I think you use them interchangeably. So there's research models, there's coding models, there's informational models. Some of them are just truly call and response models. So I think that's where we get into, you just don't rely on one source for one thing.
That's right. Absolutely agree with that. One thing that I did here, this is in ChatGPT. Now I use the Plus ChatGPT. I think it might be $15, $20 a month, maybe a little more. I don't remember. It just comes off my card now. I'm so addicted to it. They'll probably be taking that $25 off my card for the foreseeable future. But and I think you can do this with the free model as well, and you all can chime in on the chat. But what I did was use an example, because when we talked about preparing for this presentation, I understand that a lot of what this group does is around looking at investment opportunities in real estate or within other domains. And these models can be excellent tools for doing your vetting. Of course, you don't want to rely on this 100%. This is not to replace your lawyer or your accountant, but it gives you a good understanding of some concepts that maybe you aren't as familiar with if you're not a real estate developer professionally, if you don't do this every day. So I uploaded the SEC filing that I found on the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. It's been in the news. So I started asking, well, would you have seen any red flags in this filing? I'm thinking of investing, but they said that there were some issues with the founder. Anything you want to point out, no matter how trivial it might seem. And then it did a pretty good job of going through this prospectus, explaining some of the things that I would want to look out for. The organization didn't have any current real property. They had a lack of revenue and operating history. And I think one of the major things, and again, I don't know the details of this case. I don't know if anybody's guilty, innocent. I'm just saying it's in the news. This is what the model responded. I'm not stating anyone's guilt or innocence here. But one of the major issues that I have heard is around financial control. And this is the case with any organization. If you're vetting it, you want to ensure there are checks and balances. And the model is able to have that level of understanding to point out some things that if you're doing an investment analysis, ChatGPT or the other models can be a great tool for you. Similarly, with prompting, if I want additional information, let's say that I'm especially concerned about this point number 4, then my follow-up question, my prompting goes and asks for additional detail. What items in the filing would provide additional evidence of point number 4 regarding concerns with control? And then you will see that they talk about how this person has access to other entities that were doing business with this organization, issuance of Class B interest. So there were a lot of points that they were bringing up that are worthy of consideration if you're looking at investing a significant amount of money. And then you can make your own decision. It's not to say that this is a bad investment. It's just saying go into this with your eyes open. One other thing, and I'll close with this. ChatGPT is great at being able to go in, upload documents, ask questions, get information that's very relevant. One thing that you gain when you do ChatGPT Plus is the ability to create what they call your own custom GPTs. Now, if I want to formalize my own investment analysis model, if I do it the same way every time, then I can create my own GPT. In here, I called it my investment analysis. This is my own GPT, and Marvin is going to show you how easily you can create one of these. I have a model now where I can upload a document and it understands the formatting and exactly how I want it to respond when I have a question about this particular analysis that I want to run. So let me open this up. I'm just going to find a different document. It's called Capital Equity Partners Prospectus. And this will be the end of my presentation. And Marvin will show you how you can actually go about building one of these. But I've formalized and standardized the way I want my investment results back. So it should give me the address if there's any, the type of property, number of units. So all of this formatting is what I've predefined as how I want my particular GPT to perform. I always want this header about the negative risks and the positive risks. I want key considerations. And then with every one of these investment analysis that I do, I want it to give me some questions that I should be thinking about. So for this particular investment opportunity that I uploaded, it says, here's some questions you might want to ask. What contingency plans are in place if the market in South Boston declines? I'm not going to read all of these. What's your exit strategy if the property market softens before the sale of the 3 units? How are their costs being financed? And I asked it to give me up to 10 questions. So you can build your own GPT models, which I think is a fabulous way. You'll see I built over here models to respond to RFPs. I have an assistant that I built. I have a resume matcher so that I can match resumes to job categories or job descriptions. This is an awesome tool. So Marvin, would you like to dig in and just show how you built these in the past so that the audience here can see if they want to build these for their use cases?
Are you seeing the presentation again? Am I sharing? You guys see the presentation?
Yes.
It's
Okay,
loading.
great. So as Marlos was saying, software, it's loading.
You're good
You
now.
see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. As Marlos was saying, coding is getting to where they say the next programming language is going to be English. So you're not going to have to know Python or Ruby on Rails or JavaScript. Soon you'll be able to type to a computer or just talk to a computer. And creating GPTs is one of the first step towards that. So as a use case, so let's say I've created over 50 or 60 GPTs for repetitive things that I do at work every day to help me write blogs, help me do research, help me do a lot of things I do over and over again. So I thought a good use case is pretend I work for the 10K project and I want to start writing a blog. So I'm going to make a GPT that's going to help me write blogs on a recurring basis. So this is the prompt that I wrote up the other day. So I just said, I own a website, and it's good to talk to the LLM as if you're talking to a person. Telling you what you want to do, telling you the persona you wanted to have, and also grounding in information. So that will help you as well. If you tell the GPT, say, I want you to be an expert on secondary school education, that will help the GPT or ChatGPT or any other LLM, give you better answers if you tell it, the persona you want it to take on. So reading through this real quick, I own a website, the 10kproject.com. I want to start a blog. Your job will be to suggest blog topics and blog posts. The first thing I asked you to do is take a look at the website, review the website. Then it's going to access the internet whenever I interact with it and search for current events that may resonate with the readers of my website. And then it will suggest 3 different blog topics. I'll select one. And furthermore, I wanted to ask me if there's any keywords or keyword phrases I want to put in my blog post for search engine optimization. Then I wanted to draft a blog post, and I'm descriptive. I want it to be 750 words long. Otherwise, you'll get random links, maybe too short or too long. I want a clickbait title. I want the URL slug, which is what you see in the URL window when you go to the blog. I also want the keywords and things like that for the blog. And I have my blog tool. What I do, I copy HTML code over to it. So I wanted to give me the full HTML, so I just copy and paste it over. And then, of course, I want an image to go with my blog as well. And I want the GPT to write in a casual manner in a way that a college-educated African-American 30-year-old female would speak. And you will attempt to write in a way that will resonate with an African-American audience. So those are the instructions. So then I go over to my ChatGPT. If you look on the left-hand side, so I'm logged in my ChatGPT account. I click Explore GPTs. and I wait, and I click create up top. And this is how you create a GPT. It's really simple. So I've already copied those instructions over to my notepad. So all I do is go over here in the create tab. There's a create and configure tab. I go to create, and I just put those instructions in and press enter. It'll think for a little bit and it'll start to create my GPT for me. So now it's thinking, it's taking those instructions. And it's also reformatting those instructions using AI into other instructions you'll see under configure. So what it did, it took what I wrote here and it adjusted it and put it into a language that it likes better over here. But I typically start in the create tab, and you can do a Q&A. You can actually just go through this and iterate with the LLM. And it may ask you further on other questions like, how do you want me to talk? Are there things you don't want me to say to people? Things of that nature. But I gave it a pretty comprehensive instruction, so it's not asking me a lot, anything else for me to add. And it actually gave me a proposed name, and all I say is okay. And now it's going to make a profile picture for my GPT itself. Sorry guys, I got sick over the week and I have a cough, so bear with me. So I made a picture, a thumbnail image that goes with my GPT. That's right here. Now with this, now I have a GPT. What I can also do under the configure tab, I can adjust the pre-configured questions that appear underneath my GPT, because you can make your GPT private for your own use. You can also publish your GPT so other people can use it. And if a lot of people start using your GPT, there's a way that OpenAI will give you like a revenue share for people using your GPT a lot. So if you make a GPT that's very useful to people and people start using it, you can actually make money. I'm not sure how much money you can make. I haven't heard of anybody making much money, but there is supposed to be a way that they will give you a kickback if people use your GPT a lot. So I can actually go here and adjust these instructions here if I want to, but I typically don't do that. And I can adjust these preview questions. Another thing I can do is I can upload files. So if there's an area of expertise or some reference documents I want the GPT to access, I would upload those files here. I think upload like 10 files here. So if there's other like blog writing instructions or the history of the 10K project or things like that I might want to upload so that the GPT can reference that, I can do that as well. So now that I have it, I can publish it, or I can say only me. So for now, or anyone with the link. So I save it. Now, if I want to create, now I want to create a blog. So I would go to my GPT. It's spinning. And I have some preview questions here. I could just say suggest 3 blog posts for my website. And as Marla said, you don't take everything exactly as it outputs, but this is a good way to get started. So if you're sitting there, you're having a hard time coming up with blog topics, no, this will help you on a daily basis. Come up with blog topics for the 10K blog. Okay, so I got 3 blog topics. I'll just say 3. I want number 3. So it's easy as typing the number 3. So all I've done so far to create this blog is I clicked a button and I typed the number 3. And now it's going to write a blog for me. And what I typically do is let it write the blog. I may tell it to adjust it and rewrite it again. And once it's gotten to a place that I like, I'll copy and paste that over and I'll just edit it myself, make some tweaks, and then post the blog article. So it'll write the entire blog for me. And then furthermore, it'll just keep going. And one thing about ChatGPT, it'll stop sometimes before making the image because it costs them more money to generate images. So a lot of times when you add the instructions for it to create an image, it'll sometimes stop and wait to get prompted before it creates the image. So now I have an image and I will say, and sometimes it gets lazy. I asked it to give the HTML for the blog, but sometimes you have to ask it again. And after a while, sometimes it'll just go ahead and start doing it HTML. And this is just to show you, how easy it is to create like a custom GPT to do these repetitive tasks. So if I'm every day trying to brainstorm about blogs and things of that nature, I can create a GPT like this. And, in just the time it took us to have this quick conversation, I've gotten 3 potential blog topics. I selected one, got a full blog, got the keywords, the URL. I got a good title, and I even got the HTML I can copy over to my blog tool, and I have an image. And again, I can have a conversation with the GPT to improve this blog post as well before I post it. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I know we've been talking for quite a while.
There's another question here. Sharnetta says, when writing blogs using ChatGPT, do you use an AI detector?
Yeah, there are some other GPTs out there, humanizers. So you can take this content and post it over into a humanizer. And there's a bunch of GPTs out there that do that for you. You can actually create one yourself. You can actually just give it instructions. I want you to write like a such and such person, and you can actually create your own humanizer, but there's some out there that are pretty popular. All you have to do is go to the GPT store and search for humanizer. They're typically called humanizers. So what I like to do is actually I just go through and edit it myself, and put it in more of my way of speaking or writing myself.
Another good option is this is where you can use that update files. If you put in, if you've written for a while, you can put up to 27 pieces of information in there. With regard, it's 27 files. I like to actually condense that because it gets lost in some of that. So sometimes I use a larger document that has the writing style. So if you've ever written anything or have videos of you talking, that actually trains the GPT to understand and talk and speak like you, using the words you use, the phraseology that you have. But if you give it that reference, it'll pull that so that it actually humanizes it without you having to export it into something else and use that.
Right. And there's a lot of tips and tricks out there, where these tools are pretty new, and we're all learning and playing with it in different ways. So it's good for us to share tips and tricks. I've actually done that in the office, like different things that people know, like just share those with other people, because we're all learning different things with playing with these things. There's a lot of trial and error with AI. It's like talking to working with a person. So how people are. AI is the same thing. I'm not sure, many of you may have heard of this new model that OpenAI came out with called Strawberry. It's actually called O1. It had a code name Strawberry before. It's really powerful. It's only been out for 2 or 3 days, but it takes ChatGPT to another level in some ways. What it does, it has what they call advanced reasoning capabilities. So what it will do, if you ask it a question, and it's good for like multi-step things that take logical reasoning or critical reasoning, instead of coming back with an answer immediately, it goes off and it comes up with a plan or a strategy for answering the question, and a process for answering the question, and reasoning through and thinking through the question. So it'll go off and think for a couple seconds to maybe even a couple minutes while it works on the problem, and then returns back a response. So it becomes a very, very powerful tool, because now it actually goes through like a logical step of like trying things and coming to a wrong conclusion, backing up and going down a different path to really give robust answers and multi-step answers to questions that you may have. And they say it was codenamed Strawberry because there was a simple question that most LLMs couldn't answer, which was, how many letter R's are there in the word strawberry? Earlier we talked about tokens, and tokens is a string of characters. The word strawberry is longer than one token length, and LLMs break things up into tokens. So LLMs had a hard time understanding that there's three letters R in the word strawberry. So I did a little test over the weekend. I just asked ChatGPT, how many of the letter R are there in the word strawberry? ChatGPT 4 said it has 2 letter R's, which of course is wrong. The new model, O1, it thought for a couple seconds before responding and came back with the letter R. And I asked it to show its reasoning. So it actually went step by step in the background. And this is kind of the logic it went through. It went through every letter and counted one by one and came up with the right answer 3. It may sound like a trivial thing, counting the letters R in one word, but it's actually a great advancement in the way LLMs work. And this expands into like science and things of that nature. They say that this new model is on the level of a PhD student in physics or math, so it can answer really complex questions for you.
I wonder if like today in ChatGPT, when you ask it to deliver you an image, it's almost always spelled all crazy. I
Yep.
wonder if this will fix that, right? Well, now it will present things to you that are spelled correctly.
Yeah, but it doesn't do images yet. It's not multimodal yet, so it doesn't do images. But there is a good model. If you want good text on your images, there's a model called ideogram, IDEOgram. And that model is really tuned well to do images and text simultaneously. So if you want a sign that says Marvin is the best in the world, you can make a sign that says Marvin is the best in the world.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
I have to say it since nobody else is going to say it.
I do want to like the strawberry, I've gotten access to it a little earlier, and
Yeah.
with regard to testing it with definitely coding and whatnot, and the chain of thought is really what this is
Yeah,
about.
chain of thought, yeah.
For that chain of thought prompting, which was something that you had to do before it. So this is how it's kind of evolving. Before you would have to take it through those steps. And if you didn't know how to do that, then you would just basically prompt it for an answer, and then it would just come back to you. Whereas this is taking that, it's still a predictive model, but it's telling you how it's moving through those processes. So it's really good for coding, which I found it to be very cool with that, or very hard mathematical calculus problems, because
Okay.
it's taking it step by step through it. But I think what's nice about it is that it's also hidden, that chain of like going through that chain of thought prompting, because there are some things if you wouldn't want people to know how to get the answer, it is hidden because it's almost like a GPT built inside of the model. It's going through that no matter what you're asking it for.
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that's the strongest part about it. But the mini definitely is very different from the preview. So depending on which one you're choosing, that mini is super. I think it is amazing how that code comes out.
I actually made a new formula. I had some theories I've been thinking about since college, and I was playing with it last night. I came up with some new formulas. I can't verify if the formulas are correct, 'cause I don't know the math that it does, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's
Ask
going
it to
change a
check
lot.
it. So tell it
I'll
to
send
check
it
the
to you.
math, and then yeah, it'll show you the math.
So a little bit about Wali. So what we're working on at Wali is making AI easy for local businesses. Now, through our experience at Dashable and then now Wali, we found that local businesses sometimes don't get access to some of the tools that larger enterprises get access to. And even now, there's a lot of AI tools being built, and they're being built for enterprises. And as AI starts to take over and make businesses more and more efficient, if only the larger businesses have these advanced AI tools, these local businesses that we rely on, that are the backbone of our economy, will start to get left behind. So we're trying to change that. And furthermore, we're thinking there's going to be a paradigm shift in the way people interact with the internet in general. We think deep websites may go away over time, because I don't want to read through a 5, 10-page, 100-page website and hunt and peck for menu items when I could just ask the question on the homepage. So why do I need a big website with all this content when I can just ask the question of the website? So that's the direction we're going, and we think the people will start to interact with the internet in a much different way over time. So what we're doing at Ask Wali, we're making custom pre-trained chatbots in Mask. I'll show you how we do it in a second. And our whole goal is to make it easy for local businesses. So it's an easy implementation. It just takes a small code snippet to add the bot to your website. And we talked about the other things already. So a little bit about how it works. So excuse me. I created another GPT. This is an example of a GPT I made to draft an elevator pitch. So I said, well, if I'm going to explain Ask Wali, I can use AI to explain Ask Wali. So I actually made a GPT that writes an elevator pitch. So the GPT will ask you about your business. It'll ask you the URL for your website. It'll ask you to upload your pitch deck. So I uploaded my pitch deck and a link to the Ask Wali website, and it writes me a elevator pitch for my business. Just wanted to show you some of the, and I published this, and people have been using it for their startups to create like an elevator pitch. I wouldn't take this exactly as it spits it out, but you can ask it to do it again, do it again, do it again. And now you have some brainstorming ideas to kind of refine your elevator pitch, instead of like sometimes beating your head against a wall when you come to a mental block. So the way Wali works is that we've created software that allows us to create thousands of chatbots per day in an automated way. So we built some proprietary software that goes out and finds local businesses on the internet. We download or scrape all the information from that business's website, and we take that information and put into what's called a vector database. And a vector database is just a type of database that's easy for AI to access and read. So we create a little database with all information for that website, for that particular business. And then we create a chatbot powered by Gemini and ChatGPT that uses that information from that vector database to create a chatbot. And then we send an email to that business and say, hey, we've created a chatbot for you already. Why don't you come claim it and pay us $34.99 a month to put it on your website, and then further administer and make that bot better over time, upload files, adjust the personality of the bot, review the conversations the bot had with users or customers, things of that nature. So let me show, I'm gonna go to the Ask Wali website and show you real quick. This should work. So here's our website. The website's completely changing by Friday or Saturday. So I wait till next week and our website's gonna be totally different and much better. But right now we have 15,000 bots we built as our MVP around the country. You can see them populating on the map. And what a user would do is I would go search for, say, tacos in New York. And I get a list of search results. And these are all chatbots that we've already created. So we have two different business models, a B2B business model and a B2C business model. And what you're seeing here is more of our business to consumer facing proposition, where it's almost like an AI powered version of Yelp. So I can search for a business, read reviews, things of that nature. But end of the day, instead of going to the website and reading about business, I can just chat with the business. So here's one here, chat. I can just click to chat. And here's a chat I just had before the presentation started. So I'm a vegetarian. I'm somewhat of a vegetarian. So what I want to know, so I just said hello to the bot, and it gives me a greeting and tells me a little bit about the business. I tell I'm a vegetarian. Do you have any vegetarian options? Yes, we do, and it gives me some options there. And so the value proposition there is that it saves a lot of time. I've showed people how long it takes. Is say you're just looking for the vegetarian options in a menu. It can take several minutes from finding the website, clicking on the menu, clicking the right menu. Then you have to read the entire menu manually to figure out which vegetarian options there are. Why do you want to go through all that? Why don't you just ask the question up front as if I was talking to a customer service representative? So that's where we see the industry is going over time. And then what a business owner could do is claim the bot and take that bot and put it on their own website, like we see here. Here's a business in Washington, D.C. that uses our bots, and you see it's right here on their website. So they have this bot here. So when someone comes to the website, if they have a question about hours, operations, specials, things of that nature, they can just click here and chat with the bot. And the business owner also has an admin panel that they can log into to manage their bot as well. I don't want to get too deep into the demo, but a business owner. So now I'm pretending to be a business owner and I've claimed my bot. So as a business owner, and I can come administer the bot that's on my website once I put it on my website. Here's a little code snippet I use to put the bot on my website. I can adjust the personality of the bot, know how it speaks to people. I can give an area of expertise, and I can give the bot a goal to have when talking to customers. Say I have a new brunch special on Sundays. I can say, when you're talking to people, try to weave into the conversation the brunch special that we have. If people want to place an order or make a reservation, give them the URL to place the order reservation in the chat. They can also train their Wali bot by giving the bot different websites that will scrape and update that vector database. And also you can upload documents. So say I have some dynamic data like daily specials, I can upload those documents. Or if I'm a gym, I can upload my trainer schedule. So people don't have to call and say, is Marlis teaching the Pilates class on Saturday? I can upload the schedule and people just come to our website and just ask the question. I can create a QR code, and so people can access the bot while they're in store. So they can scan the QR code and chat with the bot, i.e. chat with the business right there in store. And of course, I can see the history of all the conversations people have had with my bot, and I can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. If I give it a thumbs down, I can give a note to the bot of how to answer that question better in the future. I did a little bit more demo than I planned on doing because I like showing it. So I think that's the end of our presentation. If there's any questions or comments, no, the floor is open. Thank you for your time and attention.
Absolutely
Oh my,
fabulous.
yeah, this is wonderful. Talisha, I'll let you go. Talisha's excited. You know, this is her area, y'all.
This is
So then, I'm gonna let her jump in.
I build them all day long. I'm writing a
This is
book about
amazing.
building chatbots. So this
Okay,
is
awesome.
so great. I love this aspect of it. And I do think it's really important at this particular time because most people, want to participate in, they know it's coming, but they don't know where to begin. And that the fact that you show them, you already have built it and say, hey, it's here for you, and they can actually see it. So that makes it much more, I think, real for them. And rather than being inundated with, oh, where do I begin and what do I have to do? You've done it for them so they get to see it. And I think that's the accessibility of that is really important for small businesses at this point to compete effectively and to also just be able to leverage the technology specifically for their own particular businesses. Like that's an important part so I just think that Ask Wali is really great.
Thank you. And in general, like with AI, I think people get frustrated because they don't get the results that they want. You have to play with it. You have to understand the limitations of the model you're working with and understand and play with prompting and do some research and refine your prompts and understand that each LLM is almost like a different person. So the prompt you use for ChatGPT, you may not be able to copy and paste over to Gemini and get the same results. You have to talk to Gemini different than you talk to ChatGPT, different than you talk to Claude because they're different
I
entities.
have a question for you now. With the onset of, last week, Apple Intelligence was launched and it's coming with the 16. How will this fare with that? How will Ask Wali bots work with the Apple Intelligence?
I think it doesn't really conflict at all because no, we are specifically taking information from that business's website and the ChatGPT doesn't have the detailed information about the website. If you try to ask the same question of a business directly to ChatGPT, you won't get the same results as you would get with talking to our bot that has that vector database. And we use RAG. If you know what RAG is, retrieval augmented generation to augment those questions, the answers that the bot gives. So and also with the bot, you can also upload documents that aren't publicly available on the internet, like your internal documents as well, that you want consumers or customers to have access to as well.
Can we stop sharing so that we're bigger on the screen so anyone watching it on the phone, they can see us clearly? Very good. So I want to talk about how you've made this affordable for small businesses, right? I know you kind of talked about that a little bit, but just can we talk about that a little bit more? Like, how can a small business interact? What would this mean for them? How would their process kind of begin? Because we've got a lot of, entrepreneurs that are here on the line with us, definitely a lot in the community. Many of us are small businesses with just a few people working, right? This is going to be huge, in my opinion, for taking care of some of those customer service questions and just being able to give information where we spend so much time explaining what we do to people, like having them be able to get that information in this manner, I think is a game changer. So can we talk just a little bit about that?
Oh, so we try to make it easy to access and easy to implement and also low cost. So one of the ways we can make it low cost is Google gave us a bunch of credits to pay for some of our backend processing. So it allows us for low cost. And it really doesn't cost a whole lot. We've done a lot. So we've architected the platform so that it's like one to many. We have one platform that's servicing many, many clients. There's other tools out there where you build a whole vertical stack for a client. You build a chatbot for a client and you have a whole stack. We have one platform that services many, many clients. So it's not that expensive for us to maintain this platform and pay for the conversations between a customer and the bot. It costs a lot more to train a model than for a model to do inference or answer questions. And also what we're doing doesn't require the most expensive of the models because we're not doing complex calculations or complex things. We're answering pretty simple questions like what's on your menu, when are you open, how to make a reservation, blah, blah, blah. So it's not super, super heavy duty processing that we're doing right now. In the future, that's going to change. We have ideas of helping small businesses leverage AI in other ways as well, besides chat. No, chat is our foot in the door. But there's lots of ways AI can help small businesses, as technology continues to grow over the future.
Very good. Very good.
My next question. I wanted to see where you were planning on going, because I love the fact that they can interact, but where else can that? There's a lot of back end, I think, that can really be serviced.
There's a lot.
Small businesses can do so much more at the back end.
Anybody out there is an entrepreneur, I think people don't really appreciate how I think AI is going to change things. There's opportunity. It's almost like everything's up for grabs again now. Like when the internet came around, it was like innovation everywhere. With AI, like everything is up for grabs. There's opportunities everywhere. And you just have to think about those use cases and solving problems with AI. And I wouldn't say it's a gold rush, but it's going to be a gold rush. And a lot of people are going to try to grab all the gold. So we got to get there and get our piece of it.
Very good. Yeah. So guys, if you're interested in learning more, reach out to Marvin and Marlis. How can they do that? Let's talk about that.
So you can reach me at marvin.johnson@askwali.ai. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I think I dropped my LinkedIn link in the chat as well. And that's the best way to get me. Those are the best ways to get me.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best way for me most often. I'll just put my name in the chat again. So if you look me up on LinkedIn, I'm always eager to connect with folks on there. So
very good. And I know Felicia sends out the replay of this. She's going to add contact information there too. So everybody look at your email. Think about, for the entrepreneurs in the group, think about how this can take your business to the next level, right? And if you're not sure of all of those ways that it can do so, definitely reach out to Marvin and Marla so they can help you think through what some of those real life use cases are for this that can help scale the business, right? Make it more efficient, and really help you be able to take a day off, go spend time with the kids and the family, right? Like even those things like save you time. So even if it doesn't, allow you to scale right away, the time that it's going to, I'm telling you, I use many of these tools, thanks to Talisha, right, being in my life. I use many of these tools today and I have more free time. And for somebody that's doing a million things like I am, an hour makes a difference, right? Where you could sit down and have dinner with the family, or you can sit down and just be quiet. Like, that goes a long way too, right? And so, don't watch this and then think, I got it, right? Don't do that to yourself. You don't got it. And you could be doing many, many more things if you can start using these tools that allow you to be more efficient, more effective, and definitely save time. So everybody around us is using these tools, guys. We don't want this to be one more thing in this community we don't think is for us. One more thing in this community we take time to look at 5 years from now, right? When it's so far advanced that then you're confused by it. So it's early enough in this process for you to get on board, learn, and utilize. I love that you guys gave us, so I wrote down all the different things that I didn't know about, right? So I've never used Gemini.google.com. I've never used that. I've never used Ideogram. I'm going to use that because that's something I definitely need because I'm so tired of everything being all combobulated, right? And so, these just those tools. I do use Claude, right? And I do it. Well, of course I do it because Talisha told me to do it, right? So I use Claude and Chat together, right? And I kind of always then mix and match what information I like, and then I take it and I read through it and I put it in my own voice. And so that works really, really well. And even though I'm touching it, it still saves a ton of time, right? Even though I'm going in and doing all of that, a ton of time is saved every single time. And so please, guys, just really start using these tools. If you didn't catch all of those, that's why we got a replay. So you can catch all of those tools that Marvin talked about. Marvin and Marlis talked about. What are some final things you want to add, T-Shine?
think, again, this is a great aspect of technology being something that is truly supplemental. It's not going to replace you. I think most people have that instant visceral reaction like, oh, if I use it, it's going to replace me. It's going to do everything. It's not that kind of thing. It truly does require a lot of human intervention. I don't even call it collaboration because it requires you. You're not going to get anything of value out of it if you just go in and just ask it a simple question, because it's just as predictive. As I always say, if you've ever used Word or typed on your phone, you know it predicts the next word, and sometimes it's not the word that you want because it always is replacing ducking, and you don't want to say that, right?
Right.
That's the word that it wants to give you.
Right.
So we know what this is, right? You kind of understood that. So it still requires your creativity, your input, and the better that you get at that prompting, and there's strategies with that. So that's like something that we can go over much later on, but it is more so of a supplemental tool. And just like you had to learn how to use the internet, before we had it, no one would put, on your resume, Microsoft Office proficiency. That was a big deal back then. But now you would never do that because they expect that to be. We're going to have that expectation of everything being AI enabled. So you're going to have to do it. And I think if you do it on your own terms, it's much better and you feel better about it than being kind of obligatory, like, I just don't like it. And then it becomes arduous and crazy. And then you get frustrated. And technology really isn't supposed to be that way for you. So I think if you use it now, ingratiate yourself with it, figure it out, and ask lots and lots of questions, because things do change every single day. It's very hard to keep things, like I've had to update some GPTs that I made just last week because when I opened up the new model, it changed everything I wanted in it. That just happens. And so no matter what your proficiency is, you're always moving forward. So you never are behind, but you do have to start.
Yeah.
Very good. You have to start. I love that.
You have to start. And like Talisha said, it won't replace people, but it does augment you. And there's going to be people that use AI and people that don't use AI. And people that use AI, understanding AI, will have a step up on people that don't use it. It's like you going to work and someone's using a computer and you're still there with pen and paper. The person that understands you can use a computer is going to do a lot better at work than you are. So you got to get these tools, play around with them. Don't be scared of them. Don't be intimidated, and just learn. And Marla's just posted in the chat, YouTube is a great resource. I've watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours about AI. I at least watch probably an hour or two a day of YouTube videos about the different AI tools and advancements coming out. But that's just me. I wouldn't say do that much, but but YouTube is a good resource.
University is an awesome resource. And there's so many different newsletters and things that go around, and you have to find them that really speak to you. I know I get like 5 to 6 of them every single day, that just to keep me up on the tools. And I don't think that you don't have to use every single tool that comes out. Don't feel obligated, because they're fast and furious. You really need to get comfortable with a few, because it does take a few to do the things that you want to do, but don't feel like every day and the FOMO of like, oh, there's another one and another one and another one. It's not necessary to do that. Become proficient in the ones that you use, and then you'll find out if there is something that you need to supplement. Then go out and find that, or just ask somebody before you even say, what is this? Does it really work? Because again, they're changing so frequently that it's not always worth your time to spend in trying to figure it out. And then it changes drastically. And now you're like, well, I spent all this time and now I just wasted it.
Very good. Are there any final questions in the community for Marvin and Marlis?
Good.
Thank you all. We really appreciate the opportunity. It was great.
Thank you so much for coming, and so much for sharing. It's a wonderful product.
This is wonderful, really is.
Good
night.
Thank you.
Bye.